Hi, today I will explain you how to solve linear system by substitution. But in this case, remember you have to know isolate variables. You have to remember the inverse operation and the distributive property. We're gonna solve this system by 3 steps. I'm going to explain you the first one. Remember, step 1, you have to isolate one of the variable. You can isolate the first function or the second function in the system, but it's to be optional. In this case, I'm going to choose the second one because it's easier to isolate. And I'm going to isolate for x. So I'm going to have x equal. I'm going to write these two here, and we keep positive because we didn't move, or we didn't change the position, and this negative 5 is going to be to positive 5y. Remember, you can isolate for y if you want, or you can isolate for x. In this case, I'm going to isolate for x because it's easier to isolate. Now, in the second part, you have to take one of this one. You're gonna take the first one in this case, and you're going to replace this value. So we're gonna have 2x plus 3y equals to 1, and you are going to replace the letter x by this one, because remember, the value for x is equals 2 plus 5y. So how are you going to do this? You are going to 2, and you're gonna open parentheses. What is the value for x? Here we have 2 plus 5y. We are going to close the parentheses, and we are going to add plus 3y equals to 1. Now you have to solve this one using the distributive property. So it's a 2 times 2, 2 times 5, and then plus 3y equals to 1. 2 times 2 gives us 4, only 4. 2 times 5 gives us plus 10y, and we add the 3y plus 3y equals to 1. And in this case, we already have it, and we are going to isolate for y, or it's the like terms. So we're going to have 10y plus 3y equals 1 minus 4. Why minus 4? Because this is positive. We change to negative using the transposition of term. Now we're going to have 10 plus 3 give us 13y because our like terms, and 1 minus 4 give us negative 3. Then we divide both sides by 13 and this one by 13 because we need to isolate the variable for y, and we're going to have 13 divided by 13, we're going to have 1. So remember, we divide by y by 13 because we have to have the equality. So it's going to be negative 3 over 13 because you cannot reduce this fraction. So at the end, our value for y is going to be negative 3 over 13. Okay? And this value we are going to use in the last step, that is going to be in this one. So you are going to take this function, the function in the first step, the first function that you already isolate. In this case, I'm going x is equal 2 plus 5y. And you are going to substitute or to replace this value here. Remember, this one we take it here because it was the first function that we already isolate. So how are we going to do this? We are going to write x equal 2 plus, remember, 5, and in parentheses, every time that you replace values, you have to use a parenthesis. So it's going to be negative 3 over 13. Why negative 3 over 13? Because it's the value for y. Y equal, this is the value for y. So we are going to replace here. This is substitution, remember. So we are going to have x equal 2 plus, and we are going to multiply 5 times negative 3 give us negative 15 over 13. We copy the number 13 because it's that denominator. So x is going to be 13 times 2, it's going to be 26. 26 minus 15 give us here. So it's going to be 26 minus 15 over, I'm going to write like that, over 13. So it's going to be 26 minus 15. Remember, we take this negative, this 26 here because 13 times 2, 26 minus 15 over 13. If you don't know how to solve fractions, addition and subtraction, you can see the video in the description, okay? So 26 minus 15 gives us 11. So it's going to be 11 over 13. And that's the value for the x. Now, how are we going to write the solution? The solution of the system, we're going to write here, solution of the system, it's equal the value for x comma the value for y. So we are going to have here, it's gonna be value for x 11 over 13. Value for y, it's gonna be negative 3 over 14. Negative 3 over 14. 13. And in this one, it's the solution of the system, or it's the answer. So we're going to write here. Remember, the steps is, first you have to isolate, second step you have to replace, and third step you have to replace or to substitute in the value. For example, here we have the second one, and in this second one we are going to isolate for, in this case I'm going to choose 2c or 3c, or you can use 2d or 5d. In this case I'm going to use 3c. So 3c minus 2d equals 2. So if you want to isolate this one, it's going to be 3c equals 2 plus 2d. This is negative, we move to positive. But remember, you need to divide by 3 here. In all this expression, you have to divide by 3. So you're gonna have like over 3. So why? Because you need to isolate for c. So this one, 3 divided by 3, give us 1. And the answer is going to be c equal 2 plus d, 2 plus 2d, and we are going to close the parentheses over 3, okay? Over 3. And this is going to be the value for c. The value for c is going to be 2 plus 2d over 3. This is the value for d. Now, this value you are going to replace in the in the second step. Okay, in the second step you are going to replace this value c equal 2 plus d over 3. You are going to replace in the second step. How? You are going to take this one, or this one you're going to take it here, and you are going to replace the value for c. It's like that, 2c plus 5d equals to 1, and then you're going to replace the value for c. So it's 2, and with an open parenthesis, and we're gonna put 2 plus 2d over, remember this one is over 3, plus 5d equals to 1. This is the first step. 2, this 2 is this one, plus 2d plus 2 plus 2d over 3 plus 5d equals to 1. And then you are going to multiply as distributive property. 2 times 2, 4. Plus 2 times 2, it's 4d. And this one is going to be over 3. This one is going to be over 3. So we're going to write over 3 here. Over 3 plus 5d equals to 1. And then you can separate this one, or this fraction, like 4 over 3 plus 4 over 3d, because this 3 is for this number and for this number. 4d plus 5d equals to 1. And then you are going to arrange variables and constants. So we're going to have 4 over 3d plus 5d equal 1 minus 4 over 3. Okay, so now you are going to add 4 over 3d plus 5d. You are going to add these two, and we are going to have remember, if you don't know how to add fractions, you can see the video in the description. So we're going to have 3 times 5, 15 plus 4, it's going to be 19d, or you can use a calculator, 19, 3d equal 3 times 1, 3 minus 4, negative 1 over 3. And then remember, if we have a fraction and if we have a fraction, you can use the reciprocal. D equal we're going to have negative 1 over 3, and we are going to multiply by the reciprocal of this one. 19 over 3 is give us 3 over 19. So we are going to close, and finally we are going to have the answer is going to be negative 1 times 3, negative 3 over 19 times 3, and in this case you are going to multiply and it's going to be 57. So this one is the answer for this variable, for the letter D. Now remember, you have to try to find the value for the letter C. How? Using the step 1. The step 1 we already have it here. So in the step 1 we have, I'm just gonna copy here from this one, because remember you have to use the first value that you already isolate to substitute the other one. And in this case we have D is equal to negative 3 over 57. So we're gonna have C equal, remember these three you can do the distribution for 2 and for D, so it's going to be 2 over 3 plus 2 over 3 D, because it's 2 over 3 because D3 is for both numbers. So now we are going to have C equal 2 over 3 plus 2 over 3, and the value for D here we have negative 3 over 57. So it's gonna be negative 3 over 57. So we are going to close. Then we are going to have C equal 2 over 3. First, remember you have to solve the multiplication, and it's gonna be negative 3 times 3, it's going to be negative 9 over 57 times 3, it's going to be 7 times 3, it's 21, we have 2, 5 times 3, it's 15, plus 2 is 271. Okay, then you are going to solve C equal this times this and this times this. Remember, if you don't know how to add fractions, you can solve using a calculator or using the happy face method. And if you don't remember how to use the happy face method, you can do it with a calculator. In this case, we are going to divide 2 divided by 3 minus 9 divided by 57. In this case, I'm going to use the calculator to simplify this one. And if you want, you can give the answer as a decimal. And it's going to be 0.51. Okay, but remember, leave your answer as a fraction or as a decimal. But in this case, sometimes it's better to leave the answer as a fraction. Now, solution of the system, remember, is going to be the letter C, comma D. So it's going to be C, the value for C, it's negative 0.51. And the value for D, if you want this one to convert 2 into decimal, you can divide 3 divided by 57, and it's going to be negative 0.052. And we already finished with the